This interview is a paid advertisement. It was produced on behalf of the company and is considered investor relations activity under Canadian securities law. All statements and opinions are those of the guest and should not be construed as investment advice. Please do your own due diligence or consult a registered investment advisor. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here in Frankfurt on site. My name is Kai Hoffmann. I'm the JR Mining Guy over on X, and of course, you're a host of this channel. And I'm looking forward to introducing you to Matt Manson. He's the president and CEO over at Radisson Mining. Matt, it's great to meet you in person. Although we've met before, it's great to see you again in person.
Nice to see you, Kai.
How you been? How are things?
Yeah, great. Yeah. This is the home stretch of a 5-city, 5-day tour with the Gentili portfolio of companies here, so it's been great. Yeah, big turnouts in every city. It's been terrific.
I was going to ask you, what's the mood out there? Pointing out the obvious.
We're in a roaring, precious metals bull market here. So, we had 150 people at a lunch in London. We had, I think, 60 or 70 in Paris, like 75, 80. I think we've got like 90 or something, or maybe coming for lunch today, or maybe a little bit less. No, it's great. It's fantastic. Lots of investors that are both familiar with our stories and the sector, but also a lot of new people as well, which is encouraging.
Fantastic. Let's talk about new people. This is a new audience you'll probably be tapping into. Run us a bit through Radisson Mining, what's the O'Brien project about, and who are you?
Yeah, so Radisson is O'Brien. It is a project within the Abitibi of Quebec. A former mine, ran up until the 1950s. Famous in Quebec mining circles for very high grades and really impressive visible gold that is now sitting in a bunch of mineral collections around the world.
I think the Royal Ontario Museum's got pieces.
You can go to their website and you can see all these O'Brien samples in their collection. So the company's been drilling the deposit for a number of years, built up a new resource. And starting about 3 years ago, Michael Gentili got involved as an investor. There's a relatively new board there now. Pierre Baudouin is the chairperson. Many people will know him as the well-known guy in Canada, built Canada's biggest gold mine, Detour, most recently Silvercrest. I came on last summer, so we've got 9 mine builds in this board now, and we're there because we see in O'Brien a mine, right? And we see it being a mine likely integrated to all the other mining operations within the Abitibi. The pattern of the Abitibi are mills that maybe have been around for several decades, a succession of ore bodies put through these mills to keep them going. There are mills that are owned by IAMGOLD, by Agnico Eagle, by Eldorado, by Wesdome, big names. And O'Brien is likely going to be a candidate to fit into that historical pattern. The wildcard factor for us is the drilling. Because as we've been working out how this integration is to happen, we've been drilling quite aggressively, big step outs, going down on the deposit, and we've been hitting some pretty good stuff. So the project's obviously getting bigger, and that's producing a bit of a wildcard factor here, because I think we've been opening eyes as to what the potential is in this project.
No, fantastic. We'll follow up on that in a second, because I want to get everybody on the same level. So cap structure is the usual follow-up question I ask after the intro. But to catch us up on that, you've recently closed a bought deal, $25 million. What does the cap structure look like?
Yeah, so about 40 million shares outstanding. That was a very clean deal that we closed this week. 25 million, all institutional, no warrant, no flow-through. So the treasury is about $35 million, 9% owned by insiders. And the $35 million of the treasury is going to be spent, I think 90% on drilling. It's going to be put into the ground. So. I think the cap structure is pretty tight, and if you're following Michael Gentili's investment thesis, is one of the things he looks for, and I think Radisson's an example of that.
Fantastic, yeah. Any warrants, any options outstanding that could put a ceiling on the share price or anything?
I think a small number. I think there's maybe 11 million warrants left. Historical things, legacy warrants from previous times. The last 2 financings we have done didn't include a warrant, so I think that proportionally is something which is diminishing nicely. I think there's 16 million options outstanding with insiders on the 400 million share count. So again, pretty light, I think.
Fantastic, yeah. Let's talk use of proceeds, of course. So let's talk about the O'Brien project. You mentioned it's been a mine since up until the 1950s. Since you've come in, what have you done, and what's the sort of the game plan?
So I think there's 2 planks to our story. So for the first one is, whether O'Brien is a big project or a small project, and we think it's getting bigger, it'll always make most value sense for it to be ore traveling to an existing mill and an existing tailings facility. So it doesn't have to build its own mill and tailings facility. And there are plenty of candidates around, all with, to varying degrees, future capacity. So we've been focusing on that, and about a year ago we signed an MOU with IAMGOLD to do some of the technical work around one of those mills, Doyen, which allowed us to put out the metallurgy for O'Brien based upon that specific mill, and also then put a PEA out which showed the general parameters for what our project looked like on a snapshot basis today, existing resource, going down the road and going through somebody else's facility. So that was all been very successful. That's all out in the market. We did that PEA this summer. The other plank of the business, though, has been this wildcard factor, the drilling, because I think the company previously, through circumstance and available resources, was moving the project forward with good quality work, but at a slow pace. And the resource was growing relatively slowly. So we've kind of taken the bull by the horns here a little bit, and we're doing these big aggressive step outs. This is mesothermal gold, orogenic gold. There'll be no Nobel Prizes won for the geology here because, I mean, the thesis is that it goes down, right? So we've been drilling below things. We're hitting, right? But we're hitting with great success. In particular, we've been drilling below the old mine. The old mine went down to about 1 kilometer depth. When it finished for economic reasons, not for geological reasons. It finished 1 kilometer. Gold was $35 an ounce when it finished, but they were mining half an ounce grade. So we put a drill hole down 500 meters below the old mine. We hit an ounce over 8 meters. We've now published 7 wedges off that pilot hole. They've all hit. There's 6 different veins down there. We're getting terrific double-digit grades down there, and it's obviously continuing down. But we're also hitting below the new resource off to the east of the project. That's going down as well. We've got 1.5 million ounces right now in both categories, indicated and inferred, in the current resource. That's just based on drilling to the end of 22. So we haven't incorporated any of the new drilling yet into a new estimate. We were in the middle of a 50,000 meter drill program with this deep drilling with existing cash. Did that equity deal. We've now got a $35 million treasury. We're going to announce shortly what that's going to be spent on, but it's going to be spent on more drilling. But 90% of that money is going in the ground. And it's going to be a bigger program, the same type of drilling, big step outs, going down, because we want to know the size of this thing. We're not so interested right now in infill drilling and the quality of a resource. We want to know the quantity. How big is this thing going to be directionally? And let's see where it goes, right? And I think it's, if it goes to 2 kilometers, as it's presenting itself right now, we've estimated about a 3 to 4 million ounce resource, and that's our target, exploration target that we're chasing with this type of drilling.
Fantastic. Yeah, you answered my next question already, because it sounds like you're focusing more on the second track, meaning the drilling, than rather optimizing for maybe toll milling.
Yeah, I think I am Gold and Radisson. We're very happy to have had that collaborative relationship with them last year, where we were looking. We both wanted to know what does our ore look like at that mill, and I think that data came out, and it was and there was a big gap in our work up until then, which was, and I was getting questions when I came in. We don't know anything about your metallurgy. Can you process this stuff? What kind of recoveries are you going to get? We've heard this, we've heard that, and in the absence of any data, people will kind of make up their own numbers. So we were able to put all that data out, and it was good. No red flags. At $4,000 gold, the lay of the land for the thinking around mine development and mining deals is a little bit different, right? And everybody's assets are worth more, right? And that has put us in something of a defensive position, I have to say, right? Because we've got something which is very valuable here. It's a high-grade resource, right on the highway, in Quebec, getting bigger, beside other people's hungry mills, right? And so what is the best value outcome for that situation for our shareholders is where we are. Michael Gentili, as a significant investor sitting on our board, is a terrific resource in this situation as well, and he's bringing that perspective. We all have this perspective. So I think the best thing we can do in this situation is not necessarily to sit down and sign some toll milling agreement, to be honest. The best thing we can do in this situation is drill the deposit, because it's getting bigger, right? And a growing project in this situation is potentially, the best use of our dollars and time, right?
So to answer the question, the goal is to come up with a resource estimate at the end of it. Maybe in 12 months' time, you'll come up with an updated resource.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of meters to drill here, and I don't think we'll wait until we've done all that drilling to bring out the next iteration of resource. Okay. The last iteration of resource was based upon 22,000 meters. Meters to the end of 2022. So we have drilled quite a lot since then. Okay. We know if we press the button on the resource right now, we have a live model. We kind of know what it would be, right? And it's going in the right direction, and that should be evident from the drill results we've had. So we were on a 50,000 meter program. We're going to increase that with a slug more meters. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that probably formally in our disclosure relatively soon. But there's going to be a lot of drilling here to be done, and we're going to increase the number of rigs as well. There's 4 rigs currently on the property. It'll be 5 by the end of this month. It'll be 7 by the end of the year, and we expect another one to come on after that. And so I think rather than sort of wait until all of that's done and tell the world what the resource is, I think we'll probably do a series of updates through this process. As the thing continues to sort of build out, going down, but that's going to be 90% of our time.
Okay. So, and just to clarify, you're sort of pushing off a PFS potentially even until later date, until you have a better understanding. Like, what is the quantity? What's the size of O'Brien in general?
Yeah, a PFS. This isn't my first rodeo, and I've built mines in the past, and I'm the kind of guy you hire to take a discovery in the ground through that whole process of iterative mining studies, social acceptability, environmental studies, environmental assessment, permitting, team building, project financing, mine construction. And when you file your PFS, you are declaring the first mineral reserve, and you are locking in the scope of project that you want to build. And that is the trigger for filing the project registration that kickstarts the environmental assessment process. So you don't want to do that unless you know what the scope of the project is going to be. Because if it changes after that, you restart all of your other processes.
And the PEA was based on toll milling anyway.
The PEA was a what-if PEA.
Yeah.
What if we take the existing resource that we have right now with no growth, and we design a simple mine plan around that, and we send it down the highway, and we process it through that mill that we've just done a milling assessment and metallurgy for, and we pay let's assume we're paying a toll, right? And we use a market toll. What do we get, right? And it's a good result. It's $500 million Canadian of NAV, even with the toll at $25.50 gold on a mine designed at $2,000 gold. Right. That number goes well over $1 billion if you use, let's say, 3,000, and it goes to 4,000. So that's good on just what we have right now, snapshot. But that was still a snapshot, what if PEA. The next one needs to be kind of, well, what is this project actually going to be, right? And it's going to be probably a bigger resource, and it might have a different kind of, direction.
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that. You raised $25 million, and based on the discussions and the potential, or the neighbors, not just potential neighbors, the neighbors you have, was there any interest from the strategic coming in at this stage?
I think how I'd answer that question is that there is a constant level of communication going on in a nature. Let me actually pause here a little bit. There's a constant level of conversation going on between companies like us and larger companies along those lines and similar lines. And I'm giving you a very general question, right? Everyone's talking to everybody else all the time about all types of things.
Yeah,
right?
Well, half of them, it's their job to know what's going on in their neighborhood.
Absolutely, and it's our job to have those conversations, right? So currently there is no strategic in our share register that we know of. Certainly nobody above 9.9%. We're not averse to that, but our dance card right now is fully open, and we've got good market support. We know who our shareholders are, and we've got good relationships there. And let's see how this develops.
Okay. So Matt, as a summary as well, like what can we expect near term from the company? The obvious one is probably drill results.
Yeah, it's we're going to be announcing an updated program here. We've raised this money, so what's that going to be spent on? So it's going to be spent on drilling. Our drill costs are $225 Canadian in the ground. We've just raised $25 million Canadian. That's going to cover 100,000 meters of new drilling, just ballpark, right? That's probably what we're looking at here. Again, that's the best way we can deliver value here. We're being, there's going to be more drill rigs. There's going to be a steady flow of drill results here, iterative resource updates through that process. And that's what I think you can expect. We've put the flag up the flagpole with that PEA as to what this project is worth right now going to somebody else's mill. There's going to be in the background some interesting iterative engineering work around optionality around that mine plan, making it bigger. There's some historical infrastructure there at this site that we think we can bring into our thinking, maybe to have a different type of project. But 90% of our life here is going to be drilling and drill results and growth of that resource, hopefully upon success.
Fantastic. Awesome. Matt, great to see you in person. Thanks so much for joining us here in Frankfurt. Much appreciated. Good luck with the drilling, and we'll catch up soon. Everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was insightful here with Matt Manson of Radisson Mining. I've actually visited the project a few years ago, and I kind of remember sitting in the breakfast diner and looking at the drill rig.
At the gas station?
Yeah.
Yeah, across the road, yeah.
Exactly, it was fantastic. So probably the closest I've had breakfast to a drill, and the easiest access.
It is infrastructure like you wouldn't believe, absolutely.
It's absolutely fantastic. So make sure to hit the like and subscribe button as well. Helps us out tremendously, reach a wider investor audience. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back with more here from Frankfurt.